I was on a plane paying for American Airlines internet so I could watch the Hogs, and there they were getting my hopes higher and higher, and then slowly they started to sink. By the time the plane landed, I was completely gut punched as Arkansas falls in overtime by a score of 92-88 to the Alabama Crimson Tide, and really puts them in a real crappy spot. I got to tell you, for the SEC tournament. This is why I say that, and we're going to get into the game. Also, I'm in California. I'm sorry this is late. I had stuff I had to do. This is the first chance I get. It's early in the morning here. That is the ocean behind me, palm trees. It's pretty good. But anyway, that's why I sound different. Everything looks washed out, whatever. What this did is it stuck us, like we were going to end up in the first four anyway, but like where you are in the first four, like to me mattered. And it stuck us in a, I think, a horrific path to do what now has to be done, which is win all your games in the tournament. So how does it shake down? It shakes down where you have to play Vanderbilt. And you're like, so what? Well, they did beat us. And here's the other thing. For some reason in the Musselman area, they always beat us. We can't beat them. So that sucks. I would rather play Missouri. But no, Georgia's going to play Missouri. We needed to flip flop with Georgia. We couldn't get it done.
Hmm.
We end up in the 12 spot instead of the 11 spot, which is where you wanted to be. Because not only that, but it gets worse. I have worse news than Vanderbilt. Because after that, you get rewarded with Auburn. That's not what I wanted. I don't want to get rewarded with Auburn. That's not who I want in the top of that bracket. Then, if you do happen to beat Auburn, you get Tennessee. Okay, that's not good. So like we end up in the Tennessee Auburn side of the bracket instead of the Alabama Kentucky side of the back bracket, which is much more where I'd want to be. I'd much rather have to beat Kentucky and Alabama on my way to the championship game than Auburn and Tennessee. Even though technically, I think the way this works is I have to look at the rankings, but Tennessee's the one and Auburn's the four, and then Alabama's the two, and Kentucky's the three. I would rather be on the 2-3 side because I would actually rather play Kentucky or Alabama than Auburn. And certainly I'd rather play either of them than Tennessee. So this sets
Yeah, I
up
mean,
really,
it,
it's tough. It's tough
it probably doesn't really matter because
because I
it's
feel like
going
it
to take a
matters.
it's going to take a miracle. Well, the only reason I say is because, like, with these teams, I agree with you. Some years it's even starker. Differences between the top three or four teams. I mean, sometimes there's just a team that, like, there's just no feasible way, like they've got two 7-footers or something like that. I think these teams are similar enough, and from time to, like, Kentucky right now is playing hot. You know what I mean? Like they're they're just really hot right now, and so I don't know.
But Kentucky and Alabama has these massive defensive lapses and stuff, and you're like,
They
okay,
do. I definitely feel like you have a better chance to score on them. Tennessee's better defensively, um, but
Auburn's
I don't.
super deep.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but I mean, it just feels like if you're actually gonna win the SEC tournament, you're gonna need to catch lightning in a bottle
Yeah, yeah,
for a whole 4 days. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have to they're gonna have to play. They're gonna have to have fate smile on them. They're gonna have to play unreal, and they're gonna have to get some help probably from the other team and have them have some. We're gonna have to have some shots bounce out.
yeah.
And it would help to not make giant, unbelievable grade school level mistakes in the final couple of minutes of games
Okay, so let's talk about this game.
because you're not going to beat Vanderbilt doing, you know what I mean? Like that Vanderbilt game is probably going to be close, and you're going to lose it if you can't close.
Yeah, so um, Arkansas loses a game where they never trail until overtime, which
Yeah,
is
never.
a
I mean, wonder how. I mean, I'm sure that's happened quite a bit, but like to never trail in regulation.
yeah. We're up by as many as 14, I believe.
15, I think was
Yeah.
the highest.
So I mean that's brutal. Alabama comes running back in the last couple of minutes. I mean, one of and this isn't like a huge mistake. Like there's, I mean, it's not like a lot you can do about it. It's just like one of the most unfortunate things in the world. But Khalif Battle drives in, has a dish, and Arkansas's up three in like the last under a minute when this happens, and dishes over to Mackay, and Mackay misses a dunk that would have put them up five. And what happens immediately? They get the rebound on the missed dunk. They come down, hit the three that ties it and puts it into overtime. If you're up five there instead of three, 99% chance that this game doesn't go into overtime.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's not really any reason to discuss most of the game, except for the last couple of minutes and then overtime, whatever. But because they just beat us in overtime, that's fine. I actually, I mean, this is going to sound crazy. I was so upset at the end of that, at the way we performed at the end of that game. I was glad we lost in overtime because, I mean, as far as from a basketball morality standpoint, you deserve to lose. If you're going to let go of that game like that, you deserve to
Yeah,
lose in overtime because and what I mean by that is not sometimes, teams hit big shots and you miss some shots or whatever like the dunk, I mean that just bounces out. By the way, first off, recap of the game. I mean again, same as the game, like they played amazing. Everyone played amazing for the most part. They played strong on defense. They rebounded okay. My offense was popping for most of the time. There was brief little lulls, and I would criticize if I was a coach, I would talk to Mark, and it's hard because you don't want to make guys not do what they do. Mark from time to time at inopportune moments will take just one-on-one, not pass the ball, go in and take a shot that they're and the reason I don't like the shot is because there's no chance to get his with Mark, there's very I don't mind if he drives in and drives to the hoop, but when he shoots that 14-foot fadeaway, or sometimes he'll pop a three-pointer, he'll do that sidestep three-pointer, there's no chance to get fouled, and they're putting no pressure on
yeah,
the
yeah.
defense, you know what I mean? And sometimes, like I said, if you're Steph Curry and you can hit that shot consistently, it's not that bad, but when you're trying to win and you're not very good, us you can get those shots anytime, and it's just you're letting the defense off the hook when you take a long your light just went crazy. It focused
Oh,
on the background. You need to get your face in there somehow. There
there we
you
go.
go. So anyway, but the game, they played great again. No problems with almost any of it. Everything that was frustrated with happened in the final 10 minutes, and that was when we had a 10-point lead, and then and it has actually and we didn't play terrible, but they and I mean, I don't know, I wanna blame Musselman a little bit, like, it feels like you should use your timeouts and scream at these guys and tell them what because it's obvious to me when they're not doing and I'm assuming
Yeah.
he sees it too, like, when it's like, "Hey, we've stopped moving the ball as well. We've stopped we've taken too many jump shots, and we need to continue to, like, do the pick and roll, get Mackay back in here, screening and try to, you know, we started just like going away from what got us there. And the biggest part was with 13 minutes to go, they were in the bonus.
Oh yeah, dude. I don't.
They
I
had
mean, I
eight
need
fouls. They
everything
had
has to
eight
be going to the.
fouls.
Everything has to go to the basket at that point.
So this is why we lost. Eight fouls with 13 minutes to go. We're in the bonus for 13 minutes. They at that same point, had two fouls. I mean, we had fouled them twice. So you've got this apparent, unless you just go on an absolute crazy fouling spree, you've got this big window where they're going to have so much harder time defending you than you are them because you got all these fouls to give and they got nothing to give. You're shooting free throws every time. And I looked at that. We were up by, I think, 13 minutes to go in the bonus. We've got another five fouls before we're shooting, or four fouls before they start to get in the 1-and-1. And with 3 minutes to go, I couldn't imagine. I was like, how are they going to not grow this lead if we're playing better than them anyway? And now they can't foul us the whole time. And with 3 minutes to go, they shrank that lead, not a lot, but they battled it down to like five or six. And I looked at it, then we had eight fouls and they had nine. So we had forced them into one foul in 10 minutes. And that's insane. I mean, why were they not driving the ball at them? And it was they started just passing the ball around, bleeding the clock, and taking fadeaway jump shots. Not, I mean, they did some more of it, but like, I mean, we shot some free throws, but we stopped. I mean, obviously, one foul in like 10 minutes. It's
Yeah,
crazy. I don't know
yeah.
how we stopped putting pressure on them. And then the worst part, I mean, that's bad enough. That to me, that's bad. I wanna say, I mean, I don't know how to say it's not bad coaching. I mean, were you telling them and screaming? Was Musselman screaming, "Attack the basket," and they just weren't doing it? Because it was clear to me that I was like, "What are we doing? We're not doing what we were doing for the first 30 minutes." Now we've, like, started playing a lot softer, settling for jump shots, and then
Well, and
hold
well,
on.
here's the thing, because here's the thing, it hurts your defense too, because what was happening was so like it wasn't just a matter of like I get it. If you're up by a certain amount, you want to like you don't want to take shots early in the shot clock. That's fine. That's fine.
Dude, you
Um,
can't start worrying about that with 13 minutes to go. You can
well,
start
you
worrying
can't.
about that with, like, 2
You,
minutes to go.
you can say I don't really want a shot in the first 10 seconds, like
I
because
don't think with 13 seconds to go, I don't care. I mean, I don't
no,
a
what I mean is
10-point
this.
lead is just not enough. You gotta I would be fine with them pushing and running up because
No,
that's what
but
we were doing.
let me make the argument for you. If you're up 13, something like that, in the second half, and like in the second half of the second half, in the last 10 minutes, it makes sense to say, hey, make sure like we like pass the ball around a little bit, but you can't wait too deep into the shot clock. But the reason you can do that when the other team's in the foul situation they're in, because your end goal is just to drive to the bucket anyway, which someone
Mhm.
like Battle and someone like Mark can kind of do whenever they want, right? And so like, there's no reason for you to do it in the first 5 seconds of the shot clock. It's like, dude, what we're gonna do with look at their foul situation. We're gonna move the ball around, and then we're gonna take it to the basket. That's what we're gonna do. What we did is we moved the ball around and then didn't take it to the basket, which was insanity. And here's why it's a huge problem because you're aiding the comeback when you do that. Because when you don't take it to the basket and you don't make a shot or get fouled, which like I know that stops the clock, but like what it does more importantly is it gives you a chance to make free throws and have them inbound the ball. Like we lost that game because they didn't have to inbound the ball enough in the last 7, 8 minutes. Because what was happening was if you take that jump shot or you take that whatever it is, that step back, and that ball comes off the rim, now they're running, and now your defense is like having you know how this works. Now you're having to match up. You're finding where you're supposed to be, and guys end up getting loose. Not because you're playing bad defense, because that's the nature of it when you're like in that sort of situation. At the end, like down that stretch, Arkansas needed to either put the ball in the hole or get to the free throw line, make a free throw where they had to inbound the ball so that you could like have them coming at you with you set up and whatever you want to do. We didn't do that. We did like the opposite of that, which is not going to work, man. Like if you're going to, if you, I guess it's this: if you're going to take the air out of the ball, you need to get fouled or make shots because otherwise you give the defense run and gun opportunities, especially a team like Alabama, which is like exactly what they want to do.
Well, and the reason I don't know that they were trying to take the air out of the ball. I hope that's not the case. I think that's bad. I still say that's terrible coaching in my opinion, and it's because that sounds like some nerd that's crunching numbers with an algorithm. It's like, "Oh, if we bleed, we need to bleed 20 seconds off the clock, and that'll if we do that 10 times." Like, no, no, no. No. You're right. Those guys can drive anytime, but they don't all not all the drives work. Sometimes
Yeah,
the reason I think
yeah.
you need to go just play free, play loose, do what you would do, take your best opportunity is because how
No,
many
I agree. I
times
agree with
do
you,
they
but I'm just
use
saying. I'm saying if you're going to do it that way, that's the way it has to play out. And they did.
yeah, I
They
but the
didn't
reason
do
you
it.
shouldn't do that is because I'm telling you, the way basketball works, it's an energy game. And the other team is behind, and they, like I said, they like to push anyway. They're going to have it. They're going to be pushing. They're going to be playing slap the floor defense. They're trying to come back. you don't want to try. You see this all the time when teams try to slow it down. It's a very dangerous game because your guys lose all of their energy by standing in the corners watching the guard dribble. You have to play with fluidity. And like I said, how many times when you get the drive and the foul after Mark or Ellis tries to drive, tries to do the screen and roll. They play the defense right. They cut him off. He's pivoting around, kicks it back out to Mark, 40 feet. Now it's like, okay, reset. But we still have 14 seconds. So now we get a second chance. That's the difference is if you wait 15 seconds, then try, now you end up with Devo chucking a 3-pointer up. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like
yeah,
we don't need that. Because you need that extra time for if the first opportunity isn't there, you can work it. I mean, that's why you work the ball around and get another opportunity. Sometimes it takes 35 seconds of trying and then playing great defense. It's very frustrating when you see your team play really good defense and then they just keep being patient, drive, screen, kick. Eventually, there's 4 seconds on the shot clock. Someone's hitting a corner three or driving to, finally gets that driving lane. It's like you need the clock for as many opportunities. If the problem with letting them run and you come down and slow it is you lose all your energy and you're only giving yourself one opportunity. And I mean, and they know it. They know when the shot clock is, you've bled 10 seconds off of it, and they can feel that now they don't like you're captured. They know what you're going to do a little bit more. Like you don't have as many passes in you. So they know
yeah,
if they can
yeah.
play tough defense. I don't know. It's just, I think it's a terrible theory. I don't even know that they were trying to do that. All I'm saying is I know what I saw, and they stopped playing with the same intensity on offense that they were playing with, and they stopped putting pressure on their defense. But all that being said, none of that matters. Still, you should have won that game. And even if you maybe like your shot doesn't go down, maybe they play great defense and you get swatted and you don't get the foul, it is a crime against basketball. It is an immoral act against sport as such to, when you're in the double bonus and you're up by three, to, if you're Devo, I mean, Ellis came down, he dribbled around a little bit. I think he passed it to Mark. He dribbled around a little bit. And then to pass the ball to Devo Davis in the waning seconds of the shot clock is insane. He's the worst offensive player on the court. He's at the 3-point line. There's 4 seconds left. And then if you're Devo, it is furthermore idiotic and grade school level ridiculous to not, I would rather any shot than a fadeaway 3-pointer. There's just no chance to get fouled. You have to move
Yeah.
towards the basket. I would rather you shoot a 17-foot leaner as long as you were moving into the defense. You have to be putting pressure on the refs to try to get to the free throw line. Now, obviously, what you should do is you should hand battle the ball at any point. Well, I mean, go get the ball, and he should just drive. And if he, like I said, if it doesn't pay off, it's not like it's guaranteed that they're going to foul. Maybe they double team and he gets the ball stripped. Maybe their help defense
Yeah.
comes over and
Maybe
blocks
maybe
him.
just get maybe yeah, maybe you just get swatted. I still like it better.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's the right thing to do. It's you pick up a wallet on the ground. Maybe it's nobody's. It's got $300 in it. Should you give it to Lost and Found? How? It's on the beach. Nobody's going to claim. The right thing to do is to give it. Try to find the owner of the wallet, and I'm literally putting it in those terms. It's immoral to shoot a 3-pointer when you're in the double bonus at the end of a game, and then to do it a second time when it's even worse. Dude, I'm worked up about this, and they tie the game. That's okay. We still have the ball. They're still in the bonus. We have 15 seconds.
Dude, that
It's
Battle's
like
last shot. Why, dude? Why?
probably the refs are going to swallow their whistle. Probably you're going to have to go to overtime. I don't even care about that. Maybe you don't make it. That is
Dude, what you do? Here's what you do. Now,
a
you know it
genocide.
works.
What happened?
You,
Shooting that shot is immoral. You need 1 point. Any free you're gonna have two free throws if they do foul you. Or by the way, you're a good player, and I don't know if you know this, but I know it's like people think that, oh, he's a 39% free 3-point shooter. So what? It's like, no, he's not. He's a 50% free throw shooter if he's set and no one's guarding him. And that's why the percentage gets up there. Even Steph Curry, like, probably shoots 50% when he's not guarded and he's set. The reason your percentage is so low on three pointers is because good shooters shoot a lot of 20% three-point shots, which are the ones where you're dribbling and then you just jump back and shoot it. I mean, I know we see him go in, but I'm telling you, if you went through a calculation and did an algorithm of the three-pointers that go in, they're not all 40% shots. There's all the ones that you shoot set where you catch it in the pocket, those are 55% three-point shots. There's the ones that you do off the dribble and do step backs. Those are 20 to 17 point three-point shots. You don't hit those at a high clip. That's why when they go in, everyone goes, whoa, because it's a hard shot. You know what I mean? I watched Caitlin
But
Clark make like
so
6 of them last night. And what I'm saying is that's the lowest percentage shot. I mean, unless you want to just jump back to half court and just chuck a lean like a friggin' floater up or something. That's the lowest percentage possible shot that you
well,
can
dude,
take.
well, here's what you could have done. What you did, and it worked twice. One time, Makai unfortunately missed it. One time he flushed it. It was the same exact thing over again. Battle over here. Makai off the block on the other side. Battle, drive, help defense, dish, miss dunk, completed dunk. In the last seconds of that game, why don't you just drive? And why don't you like Makai gets over here on the block, just right off the block? You drive in. If that defender doesn't come over, then throw something up, dude. Maybe you can get fouled, maybe you miss it, whatever. And if the defender does come over, you dish. Like I'd prefer that. Like it worked 2 times. One time at the end of the game, towards the end of the game where he missed it. The other time in overtime where he made it. Um, what about that? That's a better play. Like, hey, everyone over here, battle over here, taking my guy. I think help the. I think if you like load it up on one side and the ball to battle on the other side, and he drives, I believe help defense is coming.
Yeah, well, and even if you don't pass it, I mean, I don't care. And like I said, I know probably the refs are going to swallow the whistle. They're probably going to allow some real physicality. But I've been in the position where if they like, especially like when it's a 1 point game or a tied game, and they're taking the last shot, it doesn't matter if the refs are like, "Hey, we're going to really let them play here, and you're going to have to really get fouled." It puts so much psychological pressure on the defense where you're like, I cannot foul, that you can't play defense as well. Like
Yeah.
the reason a lot of guys get pretty decent looks at the end of games is because you're
So, well,
so afraid of
the last
fouling.
thing, yeah, the last thing in the world you want to do is foul.
You're not going to hit them on the wrist. You know what I mean? Like now, obviously, if they get around you, they've got a layup, then you'd rather them shoot free throws, so you might hack them up. But the reason guys get pretty good looks a lot of times on these last second shots is because it's so paranoid to play defense when you're like, if it's not if I foul this guy, like any other time, it's like if I foul this guy, that's it. It's over. He needs 1 point to win the entire game.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, that was insane. Like and like I said, once they miss that, I'm like, all right, well, I know you're going to lose in overtime because one, the team that was down the whole time now you've breathed new life into them,
And
and
because
you've
the basketball gods,
and you've had the energy sucked out of you, and because yes, you know what you did. You know what you did. You acted improperly, and the basketball gods are going to smite you, and they should, because that is preposterous to shoot 2 3 pointers in a game. I mean, even just the fact that you have one foul drawn in the last 10 minutes is, yeah, I mean, you deserve to lose. You deserve to
yeah,
lose that game because you've
which is
got to
which is a
do,
bummer. Which is a bummer because everything up until that point, you deserve to win that game going away.
yeah, absolutely. Dude, you did it all right. You were faithful until the very end, and then you cheated on your wife when you were like 80 and ruined the whole thing. Like you ruined a perfect marriage, as far as, the game goes. No, dude, whenever my daughter goes out there, and I don't even think she knows what I mean yet, but what I tell her, I fist bump her before she goes out in the game. I go, be righteous. And I mean that actually. I mean, don't unnecessarily be dirty for no reason. You know what I mean? Like don't be bitchy or have a bad attitude or get into it unnecessarily. And sometimes like I've played unrighteously and I feel bad about it when I mean, one thing I've never done is dude, when somebody, the ball's off of them and it's off of them and they don't say it's off of them, like when people try to do
Dude,
the thing.
so you and I are both like this. We both play basketball this way. I think it's fair to say, right? Or try, or put it this way, but we try to, and sometimes, all have sinned. So
Oh yeah.
sometimes, yeah. So no one is righteous, no, not one, according to St. Paul. But this applies to basketball too. But you still are making the attempt here. Uh, and but one thing I will never do is, like, if I know a ball's out of bounds on me, I won't say it's not. Like, I
Oh
can't do
yeah,
it.
no.
I
Oh
can't do
no.
it. And I've had guys
Yell
say
at me. I know.
my own teammates. So, like, the ball, like, you have a ball that's getting tipped around, and the guy will, like, look over at you, and everyone's like, doesn't, no one knows who it went out on. And even for other guy that it could possibly have gone out, he looks at you and he's like, I don't know, and and you just say it was out of me, like, that was me. And your team's like,
I've had
dude, what are you doing? And you're just like, I know it was out of me, dude. I know it was.
I mean, I think everybody's had this experience too, where I've had balls go obviously off of somebody, and then I kind of almost reach and I don't, or it just like brushed my shoulder, but no one saw it, or just brushed the tip of my finger. But everybody, including the guy who's it's off of, goes, I touched it. And then I go, it hit my finger. And everyone's like, what are you doing? Like, no, like everybody on the court thinks it's the other auto,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
nobody knows you could totally get away with it. No, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, and I mean, that's the same thing with fouling to a certain degree, although there's a lot more ambiguity there, obviously, but you still do have to, you gotta, if you foul somebody, you gotta say it. I mean, and pick up. Anyway, the reason that, like I said, everybody's made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, but that shot at the end of the game when you need 1 point to win the game and they're in
yeah.
foul trouble, and your whole thing for the last 4 games has been getting to the foul line. That's like that's something that that's the kind of immoral action that you would take when you're like 14 in basketball, maybe 18, maybe a teenager, but you should be so far past that. That is the equivalent of me going into Walmart and like grabbing a handful of candy and putting it in my pocket. It's like something a kid would do. Like, that's ridiculous. You're a grown man. You don't take fadeaway three-pointers at the end of games when you need 1 point to win and they're in the bonus. You just don't do it. Uh, anyway, so I mean,
Yeah.
not that it means, but I
It's a
mean,
pretty
and
good.
also,
I mean, it's a pretty good rant, and so there's that, and yeah, you get the SEC tournament, dude. You got to win. You just got to. Hey, you just got to win like 5 games in 5 days. It's fine.
I mean, at least they're trending up, like where it's going to be fun to watch. It's just this
Yeah,
team, good lord, dude, like they could get beat by Vanderbilt, obviously. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, Vanderbilt just
yeah,
beat
they,
them, but I'm just saying,
they
like
definitely
they
could.
could
They definitely did.
they could eat if they. I mean, I'm actually being serious. It's not, it'll surprise me, but it's not impossible that this team, they have enough skill and they're playing well enough. They could have a magical run. They're capable of it. They could also lose by 15 to Vanderbilt. You know what I mean? Like,
But the thing that's tough is that they are trending in the right direction, and, like, they could beat anybody. Um, I think it gets harder and harder the more days in a row. Like, so, like, it's like you got to play Vanderbilt, and then you have to play, yeah, okay, now we get it. Now we have to play Auburn, right? Who, like, hasn't played anybody yet. So they're like, okay. Then you're like, okay, now I got to play. Well, I guess who we play before that. Now we got someone else, whoever it is, but
I haven't
we
looked at
beat.
the bracket or anything.
I can't. I'm drawing a blank now. But anyway, so, oh no, dude, it's the freaking worst. Oh, like, you have South Carolina. Like, that's what. Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's like you get rewarded with South Carolina. That's horrible. So it's like you play a game. The next day you play South Carolina that didn't have to play a game. If you haven't to beat them, next day you get to play at Auburn, who didn't have to play a game, and you just played 2 games. Then if you beat them, you have to play Tennessee, who didn't have to play a game because they have the freaking buys all the way down. And then you're like, oh, I get to play you, and I just played 3 games. And if I beat you, I do have to play someone that probably just had to play 1 game. And you're like, the chances of winning 5 games in 5 days when not everyone else is having to do that, like, is like tough, dude. Because, like, I don't care who you are, I don't care what kind of shape you're in. You're fifth intense tournament game in 5 days, like your legs are gone. I don't care how young you are. I mean, they don't do that in the NBA. Like, you know what I mean? They don't do
Yeah,
that anywhere.
that
Like
is
it's
it is insane. I don't know how in the world they would do that. But I mean, dude, I played 3 games last night and you know, I literally gave somebody
and
my
not 40
spot
minute
so I wouldn't have to play 4.
and not 40-minute games.
No. No, I mean, but like if you ask me to go play tonight, I mean, I'm 42, so I know it's different, but like good lord, dude, there's no way. I can't play
Yeah,
back-to-back days.
yeah.
Um yeah, I mean, I don't it would have been nice to win that game. I mean, ultimately
Well, I think it
it
would have
doesn't
ultimately been nice because it would have stuck us in a better side of the bracket, in my
may
estimation, anyway.
like I said, maybe. I mean, it's just hard to know. These teams, like they all are pretty good,
I'm not. I'm
and
like.
we're gonna.
I'm like actually afraid of Tennessee. Like I freaking just don't think. Like Tennessee is the team. I'm like I can't. It's the one team. I'm like I don't know if we can beat them.
Yeah, we don't really have somebody that can guard Connect.
And the defense, dude. Like they're gonna make our offense that is really not like a really like sweet flowing. It's like our offense is like pretty basic. Like hey, battle is the ball, clear out. Mark has the ball, clear out. Like and then some Mitchell pick and roll.
Mhm.
That's not like a complex enough offense for Tennessee to struggle with.
Yeah, I'd like to see it though. I mean, Battle is playing at another level,
Yeah, I mean, it could.
and
You might be able to clear it out. And I don't. I mean, yeah, maybe there might be no one in the country that can lock him up if he's just one on one. But
well, and I think all the guys are getting better at that pick and roll with Mitch. I mean, dude, I mean, I guess we said just crapped on him. Everybody played so well the first half. Like, I mean, Davenport played well. He had a 3, but he also like he dropped a nice pocket pass on that pick and roll to Mitchell one time. I mean, it was very nice. And then
Ellis played good.
Brazil played better than I've ever seen him play all the way
Mhm.
around.
Was like
Um,
was going to the basket.
I
It's
mean, I gotta
crazy.
tell you, I do not like when we hand him the ball at the 3-point line guarded and then clear out. It scares me. It's the same thing with Lawson. Like I don't want any of those guys really driving from the 3-point line. It's just too gangly and weird. I mean, it worked out a few times. Like, I mean, Brazil hit some really difficult like turnaround jump shots and stuff.
Dude, by the way,
But
if Brazil says, "Hey, how'd you like me to shoot this fade away, like turn around, fade away, elbow three. You want to talk about a shot that, like, well, I guess if you're gonna make that, because you can get that anytime you want. Like, what are you gonna do about that dude doing that? Like, that's a ridiculous shot.
like
I mean, I don't love the shot, but
I
I'm
don't
just
love
like,
it. Yeah, I don't love it.
if you're a defender, don't feel bad because, I mean, what are you gonna do about that?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I actually thought Lawson played well. You know, like
Mitchell
Lawson
played real good.
Lawson's last 2 games have he's played a lot better. I mean, and he hasn't put in like amazing stats but like he's been n much less of a drop off than he had been. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, I mean, he's finishing some I mean, he's doing the same thing that in some ways. I mean, he was finishing some of those pick and rolls. He made a good pass. Like he and by the way, we should talk about the fact that he looks like and you gotta somehow you gotta see this, but if you take Makai Mitchell and then put him next to Lawson, it looks like Makai Mitchell with a baby face Instagram filter on. Like Lawson's face is like a baby's face. Look at him next time. He looks like he's got a baby Instagram filter on his face.
so that's gonna
I'm
work
just
out
saying.
good for him later on. He's got
I'm
that
just
baby
saying.
face. He's
Yeah.
always look young.
Anyway, well,
Right. Well, that's that. We'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow. So then that
I
means
almost
that
had
I will.
$500 on that game. That would have made me really mad. I almost picked Arkansas to win, and I mean I wouldn't have had 500. I almost bet $50 because they were 900 minus. I don't know how to bet. I don't gamble, but like I just you mentioned that the spread was 15, and I went and looked at it, and I was like, yeah, that's one thing. I was like 900, and I was like, what happens if I put $50 down?
Yeah.
It was like
So
you'll get
I've never.
500 bucks if they win. And I was like, I can put $50 to get 500, and I almost did, and literally. I just was on this like DraftKings app that I just downloaded and was sitting in there and the game was like it was like literally 10:55. I was like, can I want to do that. And then they were asking like for all kinds of, I needed to sign up for an account and put in, make a password. And it was just, I was like, I don't have the time. So I just didn't. And I'm
Yeah,
glad I
yeah,
didn't, because that made me realize I was so upset already. And I was like, if I just, not that it would have lost $500, but could have made $500, like, I don't need to put money on my own teams because I don't need more reason to get my freaking hands are all sweaty when I'm watching these games. Like,
yeah, dude. Well, I've never bet on a sporting event either, but yeah, I did call you and was like, yo, this spread is 14 and a half. Yeah, I don't know, dude. For some reason, I did, and I told you, I was like, "There's no way we're losing by 14 and a half points. Like we're not." And I was more confident than you were. You were like, "We could." I'm like, "I don't know. Like we're playing too good, and Alabama sucks on defense. Like they're great on offense, but they're terrible. Like I just don't see it. Like 14 and a half. Like that means you could lose by 14 and you covered. You're like, that's kind of a lot. 14 is kind of a lot. Like that's I didn't see it. So, but I also did not bet because I just never have. So
well,
why
that made
start
me realize
now?
I'm not really a gambler anyway, but that did make me realize I don't want to gamble on my own team for sure. Maybe I think it would make
Yeah,
it could enhance a game that you don't really care about, to
yeah.
watch. But I realized right away, I was like, I got enough stress in
You
just
got enough
watching my team
anxiety
play.
over this.
I don't need to, like, I mean, I'm going to commit suicide if I start putting money on these games.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
all
Well, all right, bro. Well, I'm gonna go. You
right.
gotta go. We'll be back. After the. I mean, by the way, for these tournament games, I guess we're gonna have to like really get these things out quick because it's we're not gonna be doing this 2 days later stuff. We're gonna have to
Yeah, we might have to
get
shorten
on it.
these up too, like just make them some 15-minute, if they're
Yeah,
going to be, I mean, hopefully there'll be a couple in a row, I
yeah,
guess if it's a loss to Vanderbilt, then we can just take our time. If it's a loss to Vanderbilt, we'll be releasing it, who knows, like next April or something.
yeah, yeah. All right, man. Well, I'll see you Wednesday.
All right, dude.
All
Be
right,
safe.
see you.